Alright, so a couple of weeks ago, X-Men 97 has released all of its episodes onto Disney+. I have a full review on my channel. Go check that out. But today, we're going to rank all 10 episodes. Here we go. Alright, so if you haven't seen my review already, I love the show. I thought it was one of the best things that Disney Marvel has ever done. It's a great continuation of the original 90s show. It was purely awesome. I loved the show. So, where do I stand on the episodes? Well, before we get started, I gotta say, I don't think there's a single really bad episode. There's plot lines I don't like, and you'll definitely see as we head into the bottom of this list, but I don't necessarily hate any episodes of the show. I absolutely adore the show, and I highly recommend you go check it out. Also, there obviously will be spoilers in this video, so if you have not, for whatever reason, seen X-Men 97, there are spoilers. And with that said, go ahead and join me down below to the comment section. If you have seen the show, what is your ranking of the 10 episodes? And while you're down there, please make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, hit the bell. We got 151. If you can get to 200 by July, I will be feeling really positive. We're growing really fast. For some reason, like just a couple weeks ago, I had like 140. We've got 11 in like 2 weeks. That is massive for this slow channel. But if you go ahead and subscribe, hit the like button, and hit the bell so you never miss another video, we won't have to worry about that. And with that said, we're going to get started with number 10, my least favorite X-Men 97 episode, and that is Motendo / Life Death Part 1, which is episode 4 of the series. And honestly, the Motendo plotline was ridiculous and goofy, but I somewhat enjoyed it. There was a little twist here that I kind of liked, and I realize it's an important plotline to establish Jubilee and what that guy's name, Roberto, establish their romance. That's an important part, and it's fine. I mean, obviously after like episode 3, and we just got rid of Nathan, and he's going to the future to find a cure or something, it feels really weird that after that we're going to this episode, but it's fine. It's enjoyable enough. When we enter Life Death Part 1, I did not like this plotline about the show whatsoever. I would go as far to say as I really disliked it. I did not find anything endearing. I felt that there could have been a better way to have Storm's arc, have her arc go throughout the show, and the character she's with, just not that compelling. And then even like the big thing is they gotta fight like a demon, which doesn't feel fresh. So I do not like the Life Death part line. The thing that establishes this episode from Life Death Part 2 is the other plot in the episode as well. And that brings us to number 9, which is Life Death Part 2. And this episode, same thing. I did not like the Life Death stuff at all. I thought it was very boring, especially when in the beginning of the episode, the reason it's up is because we establish that Charles Xavier is still alive, which is massive. And the show just kind of treats it as yeah, he's still alive. Okay, that's a surprise to all of us. Cool. So every time we're up in space with him, it's interesting. It's way more interesting than the Life Death plotline, of course. But again, when we get to the Life Death plotline, it's a drag. It's specifically because this is coming off of episode 5, which the island of Genosha is destroyed. And so we're taking a break from that to go to join Storm on her little character arc. It feels very out of place inside this season, and so I just did not enjoy her character arc whatsoever. But the stuff with Charles Xavier in space was really good, and that's why this is not much higher, but this is why it's higher than Motendo and Life Death Part 1. Heading into our number 8 spot, Fire Made Flesh, episode 3. And the thing with this episode is that it's much higher than the Motendo and Life Death, all that stuff. It's much higher than that. There's like a huge gap, because this episode I thought was really, really good. The horror stuff, people were saying the early buzz was that it was turned into a horror show in episode 3, and when I heard that, I was like, yay, I love horror, and I thought that it really escalated on that. There are very creepy moments within the show. This stuff with Nathan and about the X-Men trying to get him is just great. Introducing Mr. Sinister into the show and having his plotline and all that is great. Again, it sets up the Nathan plotline, which is a really compelling plotline throughout the course of the season. But the thing is, with this episode here, it's where I started to feel as if the show was a bit too much. I kind of missed the 21, 22 minute run times of season 1 of the original show while I was watching this. And the reason for that is, those episodes, it felt like you could sit down, you click on it, and without a doubt, it's over within like 20 minutes. This episode definitely felt like it had way too much stuff, and it should have shaved off quite a bit of the episode. And so while I thought it was really compelling, a really good episode, I definitely should have shaved off just a little bit. That brings us to number 7, Bright Eyes, which is episode 7. This is technically the continuation off of the Genosha thing. Again, very good episode. I really enjoyed this episode, following Rogue as she is just going rogue after Remy died was just absolutely crazy, and some of the most emotional stuff was with that plot line. And so following her after that could be really cool and really emotional, and seeing her go after the villains. This is also where we start to fully learn about the plot and what's actually going down, who the villain is, what's actually happening here, and all that stuff was really compelling. I did think the episode felt a little bit rushed, like definitely towards the end. It's like we meet the robot human people, and that felt like just a little rushed. And even like a couple things that happened in that finale fight scene just felt like they could have been completely done more over time. Instead, we were just like shoved all that in the final 10 minutes of the episode. So while the episode's really great, while we get a Captain America cameo, which is awesome, it was a rushed episode just a little bit, in my opinion. Number 6, Mutant Liberation Begins, episode 2, and to be perfectly clear, from this spot on, these episodes are perfect. These are 10 out of 10 episodes with Mutant Liberation Begins. The thing that's so compelling about this one is we're finally introduced to Magneto as he's taking over the X-Men, which is a massive thing within this TV show. And so when we're with that, we're exploring Magneto's thoughts on the whole thing, as he still wants to eliminate humanity, as he's still the bad guy, but in honor of his friend Charles, he's gonna try to do better. And there's just some emotional romance in that. There's some really great things in there. As we go to the trial, I'm a sucker for court stuff, and so the court stuff in this show I thought was really compelling. The villain of I forget his name, but I think it was Mutant X, he was really, really cool, and when he comes in, you genuinely feel that, and you feel the danger that he has to mutant kind. The stuff that happens with Storm is just absolutely brutal, as she's just screaming, "I can't feel the wind." That is just absolutely brutal within the show. I do think that the ending, specifically the last 5 minutes of the show, felt a little too emotional. Like, it felt like it was the end of a season, if that makes any sense, where you're having all the emotions, you're with the characters, and as this is a new generation of the X-Men, we haven't been with the characters that long. It's only episode 2, and this will have that big emotional hook. It just felt like that came way too early. I was like, whoa, okay, did the show just end, or what? Besides that, Mutant Liberation Begins is an awesome episode. Number 5, To Me, My X-Men, episode 1. This was a great episode. This was a great introduction to the series, and I can describe it in one word, and that word is badass. I genuinely thought this episode was so cool because it introduces us to the X-Men, and not just the X-Men in the 90s show. The problem that I had with the 90s show is that we spend so much time in that series with the X-Men, but none of them feel like really cool. All the X-Men have pretty much the same exact powers, where they shoot lasers. Cyclops shoots lasers, Remy shoots lasers, Rogue shoots lasers, Jubilee shoots lasers. Everybody in the original show, or at least that original season, shoots lasers. And in case you could not tell because of the edit, I literally just got back home from watching Furiosa mid-sitting stew. Isn't that crazy? Anyhow, the thing that made this episode so cool was because we got to go to these characters, and I don't know if they had any changes in the original 90s show. As I said, I've only seen that first season, but it's so cool to see these characters. Cyclops, for one, is just such a complete cool guy badass in this entire show that I absolutely loved him, and he was just so cool. And in this episode, we get shots like him in that factory, where the very beginning sequence where he's fighting those guys. He's so cool there. When he jumps out of the plane, he's so cool, and everybody's so cool, and it couldn't have been a better way to start out showing us these characters, showing us their power, showing us their animation, and everything about that was just awesome to me. And so it was just really big success of a first episode. It got me really excited to see the rest of the show, and that's exactly what a first episode should do. Coming in fourth place, Tolerance is Extinction Part 2. This is episode 9, and to be fair, starting from episode 5, these are 10 out of 10, A+ episodes. I loved all of them. So this one right here, it's the weakest of the 3-part finale because it's more of a talky episode. It's more of explaining some things, setting up some things for the finale. But it doesn't matter because it's still great. Everything where we're trying to jump in to see Magneto as he just almost destroyed the entire world by cutting off all the power, and as we're trying to negotiate with him while also going to fight the main bad guy. I can't remember his name right now. But it was just awesome as we see the two teams kind of split up to go do that. And then even with Magneto, the stuff that he does, his character arc fully comes to a halfway close here. Even though it gets fully closed in the final episode of the season, we get to see him and why he's doing these things. And it's just so cool. And as he splits up the X-Men, and it gets you so ready for that finale. All the stuff it doesn't even end on a solid note. It ends on a crazy note with Magneto ripping the adamantium off Wolverine's bones, which is insane. It's an insane thing that happens in the comics, and it's an insane thing that happened here in this show. I still can't believe that that's actually what happened. So while this episode was a little bit too talky, it was all talk, barely any action until the very end of the episode, I do feel like it was just so good and just prepares us for this final episode on just a somber note. And again, 10 out of 10 episode. Then in third place, Tolerance is Extinction Part 1. This is episode 8 of the series, and the thing that this one does so well is it gets us prepared for the Tolerance is Extinction part of the show, the finale, to where it introduces us off. We start off with this grand arc. We get to where we get to the end of it, and there's just not uplifting hope in sight. It's somber, it's dark, it's everything that I loved about the show all in one. This comes off right after Rogue's in her coma, and so we get awesome scenes like Wolverine and Nightcrawler teaming up to defend her with all these bad guys. When the manor gets destroyed, it's brutal. You can feel that. All these the robot things, all the action is pretty awesome, where we're split up in so many different areas with our characters seemingly like there's no hope against these bad guys, or I wouldn't even say bad guys, the things that the bad guy is controlling them. And it's just so cool, and especially when we head to that finale of the episode where the X-Mansion gets destroyed, Wolverine and Nightcrawler team up, which is the best scene in the entire show. It is so cool and leaves us off at such a somber note. Heading to my second place, Tolerance is Extinction Part 3, which is episode 10. This episode is phenomenal. It's everything I wanted from the finale of X-Men 97, where I was mentioning in part 1 and part 2, where it's just so somber. It doesn't leave us off at a positive note. It feels like nothing positive is going to happen. This one kind of leaves us off at that note, but then again, we get our own little our conclusion to the main story when our heroes fight Bastion, and when he gets defeated, and the forgiveness that Cyclops is able to give him, only for Bastion to just realize that he's just a bad guy. He doesn't want anything good, because the moment he could get redemption, he just has all this hate in his heart, and it's so cool. And might I say, the way Bastion looks in this finale once he gets all beat up is absolutely brutal. I was horrified at that animation. Just throw that out there. That is awesome and kind of creepy all at the same time. So the entire finale is just awesome, as we even get like Professor X and Magneto's mind exploring what makes Magneto Magneto, and that is again just a great part of this character arc for Magneto and Professor X. All the character arcs wrap up, and then we prepare for season 2. And that's where I think that why this episode isn't my favorite of the bunch, because the way we leave off for season 2, I feel like was done too many times in too many other shows. But I'm still very excited, and it wraps up everything from this Tolerance is Extinction plotline so well, and it was just so good, and just got me super excited for season 2. I cannot wait for season 2. I absolutely loved this finale, but it's not my first place. My first place is Remember It, episode 5. I absolutely loved this episode. This was at a time where, if you can tell by this ranking, we got episode 2, 3, and 4. 2 I thought was really good. We got episode 3, 4, and then we got episode 6. And with 3 and 4 and sometimes 2, there's just a little bit of, I don't know, am I gonna feel like this is overstuffed just a little bit? And for the first half of this episode, I felt like, yeah, okay, we're just in Genosha, we're exploring some things, some plot lines. It could be a little bit better with the drama, it could have some more compelling plot lines. But then we enter the back half of the show, and this is the episode where everything completely flips around, to where I thought, yeah, it's a pretty good show, but it's a little bit overrated. I really felt like, man, this is a great show. This is exactly what I wanted from X-Men 97, especially when we get to that back half with the destruction of Genosha, which we 100% feel the brutality of it, because Genosha is just a place where happiness. The very beginning of the episode, we're happy on Genosha. We feel that the X-Men and all mutant kind have won something. And then all of a sudden, the back half of the episode, to have that all taken away. All of the victory that we thought we had to be taken away so abruptly. You feel that it's absolutely brutal, and it's even more explored later on in episode 7, where we just see the devastation that's left on mutant kind after the attack on Genosha. It is absolutely awesome, and it ends with a sacrifice by Gambit, which is one of the most sad comic book property sacrifices that I have ever seen. I was genuinely devastated. I was sitting right there, right on my bed. I remember that my brother was in the other room playing video games, and I was just watching this episode, and man, I put my phone down once it was over, and I was shocked. Like, my mind was blown at the stuff that they did, and I loved it so much. And another thing that I thought was really good about the show was that after they killed Gambit, they found another way to just kind of completely make it to where death is permanent. Because with characters like Cable, where he can time travel literally, and he could just go back in time and bring him back, they found a way not to make that happen. And it just makes it so much more compelling and so much more devastating. Like, after the episode, I was like, wow, can Cable go back in time and bring him back? And then a couple episodes later, we explained why he can't, and it's actually really brutal, and I absolutely loved this episode, and that's why it's number 1. So yeah, I have loved X-Men 97. I still have a full review if you guys want to go check that out, but that was my ranking of each individual episode. I want to know yours down below in the comment section below. Like I mentioned, halfway through filming this video, I quit filming, went to go see Furiosa, came back and just filmed it right here. So I will have a Furiosa review in probably the next day or even later today. Depends on when I will upload this one, as it is like 11 o'clock at night. It's not going to get uploaded tonight as of where I'm filming it. But then I'm going to have a Mad Max ranking. Then I'm going to do my my most unpopular picks. That is my another video that's coming out soon. So stay tuned for all those videos. And with that said, subscribe to Joel the Nerd Army. Peace out.